I'd like to call to order the September 10th, 2024 monthly Board of Directors meeting for the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. If there's anyone that wants to speak in public comments, I trust you signed up or will sign up. We'll give you a moment here if you want to. If you hadn't and you want to, it's entirely up to you. Okay, then we'll start our meeting with our roll call. Board Secretary?
Commissioner Gooch.
Present.
Councilperson Sheik.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Kaczynski.
Here.
Commissioner Carey.
Present.
Commissioner McLeod.
Present.
Councilperson Daniels.
Present.
Commissioner Way.
Present.
All members are accounted for.
Thank you. And now we'll go to invocation by Butler Councilperson Judy Cheek.
Thank you. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, please watch over this nation, this state, this community, and these people that are here. They're making important decisions for the greater good of this community. Please help us always be in a graceful mode and open ears, open hearts, and empathy for each other and what we all do. And all of this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And now we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Butler Councilperson Vicki Daniels.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, are there any adjustments to the meeting agenda? If no one has any adjustments, then we'll call for a vote to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Georgiana Kaczynski to approve, a second by Kenneth McLeod. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Now we have review of the minutes from August 13th, 2024 meeting. I trust everyone's had a chance to go over these. Does anyone have any comments? Any corrections? Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion approved by Robert Way, second by Vicki Daniels. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And this brings us down to our public comments. Did anyone sign up for public comments?
No.
Did we have any emailed in? Okay, thank you. And now we move on to item number 8 is board discussion items. And let's see, let me get to my. Okay, and I believe we had Georgiana Kaczynski of Creekmore has on here she wants to discuss PFAS.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had requested to do a discussion on PFAS at the meeting before I saw the agenda, and I think that anything I wanted to talk to will be discussed in the agenda at further detail. So I'd be willing to step down on this one and wait for the discussion that we're going to have by the executive director.
Thank you. And moving along to item number 9, our system development fee analysis report and adoption. Mr. Schroyer, would you like to handle this for us, please?
Yes, sir, I would, Chairman. Thank you very much. So the System Development Fee Analysis Report and proposed adoption. You can see on page 20 of your agenda the detailed background that I presented to the board starting in July of 2017. I would like to skip down to the last item regarding the August 13th, 2024 regular board meeting, where the Board of Directors held the required public hearing on the draft System Development Fee Analysis Report following the not less than 45-day public comment period. So we've been discussing this project for quite a while. this past year. So we're almost across the finish line. And what we have this evening is an important item to present to the board as far as the possible final adoption of the report. And there's also setting potentially the system development fees included in that final report. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The system development fee analysis that you'll see in your agenda on page 21 provides you with the detailed background in terms of how the system development analysis is based and how it is calculated. Overall, Saguaso has made significant investments in water and sewer system assets that will continue to provide available capacity for new construction and future development. The final system development fee analysis report documents the results of the approach, method, and calculations for updating the system development fee analysis. Overall, the result of this effort is the establishment of the maximum cost justified system development fee. The board may elect to implement fees of lesser value. However, any adjustment must be calculated on a cost per unit volume basis. The final system development fee analysis report does not constitute a recommendation of an SDF amount. However, it does establish the maximum cost of justified system development fee. The following page contains information comparing Saguaso's current and proposed system development fees. All right, so what I provided for you are three tables on page 22 of your agenda. The top table is comparing the water system development fees for our existing fees versus our proposed, and also showing you a difference. The table in the middle of the page is for our wastewater system, once again showing you our current fees, the proposed fee, and the difference. And then I provided for you at the bottom of the page a table which basically is a summary of the water and sewer existing fees and versus the proposed. Now, you've seen this information, I think, 3 times already, and was in the report. So you have all of this information available to you. In terms of the analysis, based on the public comments received during both the public comment period and the required public hearings, no additional analysis is required as related to the methodology used to calculate these fees. And that's an important part. That's part of our public hearing and our public comments, that there was an opportunity to question or challenge the methodology that we use. There were no challenges to that, so we're able to move forward with the methodology that was used by the professional engineers to develop this report and the recommendation for these fees. Therefore, the Board of Directors may now approve the final system development fee analysis report. This legislative action to approve the final system development fee analysis report is accomplished via a resolution. The resolution is attached as Exhibit A. So in terms of our next steps, following the board's approval of the final system development fee analysis report, including the new system development fees, staff will update the system development fees contained in the approved FY 24-25 rates, fees, and charges schedule, and then provide an updated version of this schedule to the Board of Directors at their October 8th regular meeting. So this is kind of a 2-part process here. As the board is aware, in our budget, annually we have an additional schedule that gets approved by the board, which is our rates, fees, and schedules, that sets these rates or has a copy of these rates for our system development fees found within that schedule. So the board currently has a schedule of our existing system development fees. Should the board approve the new rates tonight, then of course we would need to update that schedule. We're not proposing that we update that schedule this evening. If the board approves the new SDFs, we will bring that document to the board at the October board meeting for you to amend or approve those revisions to that schedule. Does that make sense? So in essence, you could be approving the new rates this evening, but we also have to memorialize it in our schedule of rates, fees, and charges at the October meeting. Okay? Let's see, I provided a schedule for you on page 23 as well. And financially, I think we're already aware that we would have to update our schedule of rates, fees, and charges. Attachments for you this evening include Exhibit A, the resolution to adopt the final system development fee analysis report and system development fees. Exhibit B, which you've seen over and over again, is the water and sewer system development fees related to the system development fee analysis report. And then C is system development fee analysis report. Let me jump back to Exhibit B. So what I've done for the board here, this is a new table. I apologize, you haven't seen this table, but okay. So what I've provided to the board on this example in Exhibit B is this is a snapshot of what the table looks like in the schedule of a rate, fees, and charges booklet that we currently have and that you'll actually see proposed in October. So I just wanted you to see basically how that table lays out and what you will see again in a future book. So again, we have here proposed for you system development fees per 1 ERU for water at the top table. And again, this is proposed fees that are coming out of their recommended report that you possibly may be approving this evening. And then the table below it is the sewer system development fees per 1 ERU. And again, you're seeing the associated table based on meter size and inches and what those fees are associated with. Now again, this is the information that is pulled directly out of the final report. I'm just showing you what it would look like and what it will look like coming up in a new schedule, the rate, fees, and charges in that booklet. Okay? So at that point, I will pause. A lot of information. What questions may I answer for the board of directors this evening on this topic?
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, isn't there a procedure manual that has to be also done after this also?
Yes, there is. Thank you for bringing that up.
And just what you need, something else to do. Do we know how long it's going to take to get that procedure? Because these fees, if we approve them tonight, will go into effect immediately.
That is correct.
And if we don't have a procedure manual to give to people, I'm concerned.
Okay, very good. So I would imagine we could put that together in 30 days
Okay.
from board approval at the latest. And keep in mind that we still have a process currently for doing allocation and SDFs, and we have worksheets that we push out to those that are interested in system development fees. So we would refresh those sheets, have those worksheets, and still be able to keep moving forward with the process. But we did talk about developing a
Procedure manual.
procedure manual.
Yeah.
So I think it would be appropriate at this point to start putting that together.
Okay.
Thank you.
And my question was on the effective date.
Mhm.
When would that effective be? 30 days from when it's approved final approval?
I believe the recommendation was that they would be in effect with the approval of the system development fee analysis report this evening.
Anyone else have any questions? What is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the final system development fee analysis report and system development fees effective upon approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. So we'll look forward to the October 8th meeting, and we will consider approval of the amended 24-25 rate schedule rate fees and charges. Okay, item number 10, fiscal year 24-25 annual sewer cleaning contract award. And Mr. Shroy.
Yes, thank you very much. Background on this item. Saguaza, under its annual operating permit issued by the NCDEQ, is required to clean and inspect at least 10% of our total 114 miles of pipe in the wastewater collection system. And according to the US EPA, cleaning and inspecting sewer lines are essential to maintaining a properly functioning system. Last June, Saguaza issued a request for proposals for annual sanitary sewer pipeline cleaning and televising for a 2-year period commencing in FY 23-24. In late June of 2023, bid proposals were received for the program, and the following 3 vendors provided proposals for the scope of work outlined in the RFP. You can see the companies that we have: Vision NC LLC, Dukes, and Bionomic Services Incorporated. We asked for proposals to include pricing for 2 years, and you'll see that in the table as well, that we had a fiscal year 23-24 program cost, and we also have a fiscal year 24-25 program cost summary. At the August 8th, 2023 Board of Directors meeting, the board approved a 1-year contract with Vision NC LLC for the fiscal year at a not to exceed amount of $160,000. During that board meeting, I told the board of directors that we would return in fiscal year 24-25 with a vendor recommendation for a contract this fiscal year. The recommendation would be based on several factors, including how well the current vendor, Vision NC LLC, performed their work in FY23 and 24. Long story short, the vendor performed very well for us this last year. Talking to staff, they're recommending that we move forward with the second year of an approved contract, and that's what the recommendation is this evening, that the staff recommends an award of contract to Vision NC at the unit cost proposed for the sewer cleaning and televising program for FY 24-25. And again, that cost, or those unit costs, are associated with that total cost in that table shown previously on the page. The approved fiscal year 24-34 CIP, our 10-year CIP, includes $170,000 for sanitary sewer cleaning and televising this fiscal year. A budget amendment is required for this item and follows this item in the meeting agenda. You'll see in the exhibit attached sanitary sewer cleaning and television bid tabulation. If you want to see the details of what we're doing, you can see our strategic plan alignment with Focus Area 2 for reliable and sustainable sanitary sewer systems. And my recommendation is for the board to approve the contract with Vision NC LLC for the fiscal year 24-25 sanitary sewer cleaning and televising program based on their FY 24-25 unit costs for the not to exceed amount of $170,000, and allow the executive director, Seguasa's attorney, and the finance director to finalize and execute the contract with Vision NC LLC. So with our supporting budget of $170,000 and our proposed costs of $155,600,000, I'm asking for board approval, basically to spend our budget $170,000 on sewer cleaning and televising for our program this year. I'm happy to answer any questions the board members may have.
Anyone? Yes, go
I have
ahead.
a question. Just out of curiosity, you inspect 10% of Sawaska's pipeline with wastewater collection. How do you decide where's the 10%?
We have a program where we put together basically a large map, and we look at the conditions of certain systems and priorities of those systems, and then we basically work on that 10% basically annually. And there's some areas we have to go back and clean, you know, I wouldn't say constantly, but on a semi-annual basis to make sure that they're televised and cleaned as well. The televising actually provides us with information based on the condition of the pipe. So when we send the camera through the pipe, if we see a pipe that's degrading or a section, we can then start to schedule that and work on that as far as rehabilitation, replacement, repairs, and so on and so forth. So the work that we're doing to jet and clean provides us with that data ongoing for asset management to ensure that we're keeping up with our system maintenance and repairs. So that's how we put our program together.
So this is annually.
That is correct.
So a budget amendment is necessary. How much did we include in the budget this year for this? Did we earmark an amount in the
We did.
budget this year?
Yes, we have $170,000 in our budget for this item in our
Okay.
CIP. So we're going to be in the budget amendment, we will actually move that money from the CIP over to a line item that will allow us to enter this contract and expend it.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I just want to state that I like that we're using a local vendor that's owner operator here in this area in Grable County.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. The ayes have it, motion carries. Item 11, Hazen Sawyer On-Call Engineering Services, request for approval of various capital improvement project task orders. And Mr. Schroyer, will you walk us through this?
I sure will. Thank you very much. So just some background on this project. Seguasa has 3 professional engineering firms currently under contract for on-call engineering services. These vendors are Hazen & Sawyer, CDM Smith, and McGill Associates. Seguasa utilizes the 3 engineering design firms for many utility projects, since all 3 firms offer a wide range of expertise across many engineering disciplines. Just a background on some of the ways that we execute the work. Engineering work performed at each engineering design firm is accomplished via the task order process. In summary, a task order is written for a specific project, and the task order contains the scope of the work and an outline of the related costs for such work. The draft task order is reviewed by Seguasa staff for any modifications prior to finalizing. Once the draft task order is finalized, the engineering firm submits the final task order. We review it with a tentative approval, and we seek funding as necessary for the items. This item tonight focuses on Hazen and Sawyer. I have an additional item coming up next, which is McGill and Associates. So let's just talk about Hazen and Sawyer at this point. So Hazen and Sawyer has designed and administered many successful engineering projects for Seguasa during the past several years. As Seguasa continues to upgrade its water and sewer system infrastructure this fiscal year, Seguasa has requested Hazen's assistance on various projects. Following the consultation with Seguasa and Hazen about several CIPs, Hazen provided several task orders to Seguasa for review and approval. So found on page 70 of your agenda is the summary of the Hazen task orders in the task order summary table 1. In terms of our next steps, following the board's review and approval, staff will move forward with the next steps in the approval process to initiate the work. As far as our recommendation, the staff recommends the board of directors approve the task order shown in the task order summary table. And in terms of the financials, at the August 9th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting, the board approved the fiscal year 24-34 10-year capital improvement program schedule. The task orders shown in summary table 1 are for projects related to the approved 10-year CIP, and these projects are funded via the Capital Improvement Fund. The next step to secure funding for the task order requires a budget amendment. That budget amendment follows in our agenda this evening. So looking at page 70 as far as the table, so we have various task orders here and project names and descriptions so that the board can see basically the 4 projects that we have that we're going to be starting on here with Hazen and Sawyer, should the board approve this item this evening. We have at the top of the table, a 16-inch valve replacement project. The next item, we have a water treatment plant clear well rehab project that we're working on. The next line item, 102-10 water quality improvements. We've got various water quality improvements throughout the entire service area. That's quite a hefty amount, but that's just to show you what we're doing in terms of water quality analysis and hydraulic analysis, both current state and future state for our communities. And then we also have our last task order, which is some water filter assessment at our water plants. Those total projects you can see total just under $449,000. You can see further on the page our strategic plan, goal, and objective alignment for focus areas 1 and focus area 2. And my recommendation is the board of directors approve all task orders for Hazen and Sawyer, totaling $448,690 as shown in the task order summary table 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Director Shirley on this? Anyone have any questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
I'll move for approval.
So we have a motion by Tim Karen, second by Kenneth McLam. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And this brings us to McGill Associates On-Call Engineering Services request for approval of various task orders. And again,
This is rather simple. It's more or less a copy and paste from the previous item, adding the name McGill Associates here. McGill Associates does a lot of work for us for our on-call engineering. Again, we have a task order summary table 1 found on page 72 of your agenda. At this point, it's only one project, but again, this relates to our CIP. This is for conceptual space planning project for us. This is a project that will help us identify space needs for the organization for both utilities, the water plant, the wastewater plant, and administration, taking a look out to see what our build out would look like in the next 10, 15, and 20 years so we can start to identify what these facilities would look like for Seguasa. Just to let the board be reminded, we are in our, I believe, our 10th year of a 20-year lease in this facility with administration, and both agencies, Seguasa and the town of Butner, are flexing a little bit here as far as their space needs within this facility. So we will look forward to producing the conceptual space planning project this next year and bringing that information back to the board for future planning, CIP, as we look forward.
Okay, any questions for our executive director?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And item number 13, CDM Smith contracted engineering service for grant awarded PFAS pilot evaluation and planning study, requesting scope of work and fee approval. Mr. Schroyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So these next two items are related for our PFAS pilot evaluation and planning study. This first item is regarding the scope and work and fee approval for CDM Smith. And our next item is regarding resolution of acceptance for the grant funding we received for this project. So just some background for the board here. In July of 2023, we worked with consultant CDM Smith to assist Seguasa on its journey with the PFAS compliance. CDM Smith was tasked with two items: creating a PFAS pilot evaluation planning study and submitting on Seguasa's behalf two NCDEQ State Revolving Fund financing grant applications. One of the applications was for the maximum grant amount of $500,000 for the PFAS pilot evaluation and planning study, and the second grant was in the amount of $22 million for PFAS mitigation, engineering, design, and construction. The two applications were submitted in last October, and the pilot planning study is associated with our CIP number 101-07 at a cost of $500,000. We do not have a CIP identified yet as far as the total cost for design and construction for actually mitigating the PFAS. In March of 2024, DEQ notified us regarding our two applications. They approved the $500,000 grant for PFAS evaluation and planning study, yet did not approve funding for the $22 million grant request. In May of 2024, CDM Smith and Seguasa submitted to NCDEQ the required scope of work and schedule for completing the grant awarded work. In late July, DEQ notified us that it approved the scope of work for funding for the following project that is listed on the page at the bullet item there. In terms of the analysis, this is once they approve the project for us and the scope of work, then there's several tasks that are included in order for us to actually move forward with the project and obtain the funding. I provided that those tasks for you in terms of the analysis section on the bottom of page 73. And one of the items that is required for approval to get this grant will actually be the resolution of acceptance coming up in the next item. So this item focuses specifically on the work that CDM Smith will provide to us in terms of their consulting services agreement. And following board approval, Seguasa staff will complete all required forms and submit them back to NCDEQ for their review and approval. And then we will, once we get the approval, we will issue a notice to proceed for the work. In terms of the schedule, the project will commence as soon as Seguasa receives final approval from the NCDEQ. And just a footnote on that, I'll pause before I talk about the financials and the attachments. In a conversation with the CDM Smith team today, they are poised to begin this planning study, this pilot study, as early as 10/1, so actually next month, October 1st, if we can get this turned around with DEQ and get our forms in and get the approval from them. So we've been preparing for this, and there's a schedule in the consulting services agreement which lays out a lot of time and a lot of weeks before they actually get started. But we're going to fast track this project and get started as soon as we can, possibly October 1st, which is important. In terms of the financials of this project, it's a $500,000 project. NCDEQ will provide a grant of $500,000 for this project, and Seguasa will pay a $10,000 closing fee associated with this project. A budget amendment for this item is required and follows in this agenda. My recommendation is the Seguasa Board of Directors authorize the Executive Director to enter an agreement with CDM Smith for the PFAS pilot evaluation and planning study as shown in Exhibit A, and not to exceed the amount of $500,000.
So I do have a question.
Okay.
So after this is done, do you see us possibly going after another grant and that grant being awarded because we're so far into this now?
Well, that's a great question. I think one of the reasons why we may not have been successful last October, because we had not completed a planning study yet, a pilot program, which is an important part to understand where are you going with this, what type of mitigation are you going to use, and potentially what are the costs associated with this program. Based on the expertise with CDM Smith, they said this is about what you could spend. Let's ask for this amount of money related on our experience, put the application, no luck at that point. So yes, as we move through this program, we will continue to put in those applications for those grants. And we can do that for many years. And it can also be compounded. Should we receive some grant money, we can still apply and receive more. That is the hope. So as we move further down the road with this project, possibly the better. We'll finish this pilot study. We'll start to understand better what technology we're going to use for mitigation. And then there will be a design contract and a build contract potentially that will append this project here. Now keep in mind that we were awarded $5 million from the state for infrastructure. And I've been urging the board to look at that $5 million to put towards the PFAS design, build, construction project, not the I-85 project, because we're moving in a different direction with that. That is yet to come, but that's going to be coming soon as far as making a decision how to spend that money, how we want to move forward with that. Keep in mind that we have 5 years, basically the clock is ticking, to work on this mitigation. It's not just Seguasa that has the 5 years, everybody has 5 years to come into compliance. So we're being very aggressive. The pilot study is very important for us to understand what technology or technologies we will use, what those costs will be, and then also identifying what those operational costs will be year over year.
I want to mention one thing. Sure. You said possibly could start as soon as October if you could turn the permits around.
Yes.
That's not waiting 5 years. That's like a few weeks from now. So we're not waiting 5 years to do anything. We're doing something now.
Being aggressive, that is correct.
Some of the public think we're going to sit on our hands in 5 years.
And
We're
actually,
already moving.
yeah, and actually, we've been doing something for several years, getting prepared for this and trying to get money lined up for it. Does anyone else have any questions, comments? Yes.
So we have heard about other systems and other projects that could possibly be cheaper and faster. And I believe that DEQ gave us a grant based on our idea of how to handle this and which way to go with it. And we could go with the cheaper, faster system. We could do it now. We'd do it tonight. We could do it tomorrow. But if it doesn't work, we're going to have to go back in and do this all over. And there's a limited amount of money that the grants will have, and we will miss our opportunity. So I think that this is a much more fiscally responsible way to go about it. And I do see in this proposal that it's this project is going to take 65 weeks. So this is not something that's going to be done tomorrow. It's going to take over a year before it's final. Now, you said $10,000 in closing costs. Are you talking about the administrative fee? The same? Because it says grant administration fee?
Yeah, there's a grant administration fee that we have to pay for that.
So it's really $20,000?
No, it's $10,000 closing fee.
Okay. All right. So the closing fee of the administration is the same.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if we did move forward without the grants, without at least trying to get the grants or making a second attempt at it, yeah, then the money for this project will be on the back of our ratepayers, and it will drive the rates up quite a bit to cover. Yeah, it would dramatically increase the rates if we can't get grants. So we have to do everything we can, talk to every legislator we can, twist every arm we can to try and help us get money for this project to protect our ratepayers. Is there any other?
So 65
Comments?
weeks is like January of 2026.
Right, and I did make a comment that we're getting started on this on October 1st in the next couple of weeks, which takes that schedule and brings it back even closer to us, not utilizing that entire 65 weeks. We have to have enough time to do these tests month over month over month over month to actually evaluate which process is going to work best for us. And the sooner we know that, the sooner we can start to talk about design build for the equipment moving forward. So, but we do have to be thorough in this phase and follow protocol in our testing that we're doing to come up with a recommendation. Now, you also brought up a point earlier that there may be other technologies that are developing at the same time.
Right.
We are not ignoring those technologies. In fact, it seems like there's a new technology that comes out about once a week.
Right.
So we're surveilling that as well. We're going to continue with this project, though, and try to get information about these products, these new products that are available, where they stand, could a municipal system use those at this point? Are they truly approved? To what scale? And we will find the most cost-effective method that we can find to meet the maximum contaminant levels for PFAS for this system. That is the goal, with the clock ticking. And we are no different really than any other water system that has the same goal in mind, that it has to have a reduction in PFAS. The clock is ticking. And you can imagine what that's going to mean 3 years from now, when we're all bidding out a project for all the same materials potentially and contractors that do this. And I'm not just talking about in the state of North Carolina. This is statewide. This is, that we're looking at. So I've been told by our consultants that we are at the same pace as the larger utilities such as the city of Raleigh, the city of Durham, and other water systems. So I just want to impress the board with that as well, that we are not sitting on our hands. We are moving as quickly as we can. And I think this is an important component tonight. And if you think about it, we potentially have $5.5 million we're already putting towards this project from grant money, which is great. Could be a $15-20 million project by the time we're done with it. So we're off to a good start.
So I think there was an article that MIT is trying to develop a system to filter out PFAS. There was also another article about air pollution causes PFAS. So I think it's a current topic on a lot of people's minds, and there's going to be a lot of studying and scientific information before we get to possibly the end of these 65 months to go forward. And at the end of 65 months, it might change again.
Weeks.
65 weeks, sorry, months.
Months. No, weeks.
God forbid I said 65 months.
That's a lot.
And
It'll be a long time.
just to add another layer of engineering on top of all this, here's something that we're aiming for as well. When you consider the technologies and the way that they're developing here with PFAS removal, which is fantastic, you also take into consideration our capacity at the water plant as far as total million gallons per day and what we're actually using at this point. It's about 50% of what our total maximum production is. We have an opportunity here in the future that we could possibly set ourselves up to really design for the future and insert and develop equipment to deal with what our capacity is now. And as technologies advance and as there's greater demand on the system, we can build those into our system as well. So in other words, we may not want to rush out and develop or install equipment that's going to treat 7.5 million gallons per day if we're only using 3.5 million gallons per day. So those are things that we'll look at as far as scalability when we construct at the same time. So there's going to be a lot of change on the horizon with this program.
Move for approval. Okay, we have.
Question, quick question. I was wondering, are we looking at those that have already have methodology in place just to see what they chose and why they chose it and how it's working for them?
Yes, in fact, I think that it was back in June. I did an on-site tour of a water facility here in North Carolina, and those that have the PFAS equipment installed, they're very open to site tours as well, inviting to come and see the equipment on different scales, basically much larger than Seguasa, some smaller than Seguasa.
They might have some lessons learned too. I mean, since they.
Well, and they do. We found out a lot on our last tour. In fact, the water treatment plant superintendent and I went on a tour with another superintendent from the facility where they performed the installation of the PFAS. And it's always good to talk to the person that has to operate the equipment and some of the pitfalls. So we took some good notes that day.
Oh, okay, good.
Thank you.
I second. Okay.
Motion.
We have a motion. We have a by Tim Karen, and we have a second by Kenneth McLam. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Now we get to the next item on our agenda is the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality Division of Water Resources grant-funded PFAS pilot evaluation and planning study resolution of acceptance.
Awful lot to say.
That's the whole lot.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is part 2 of our PFAS pilot evaluation and planning study. I won't read to you the background because that's just very similar to what I just read to you on the previous item. I'll skip down to the analysis. NCDEQ funded project recipients are required to provide assurances to the NCDEQ that any conditions or assurances contained in the award offer will be adhered to. As such, the NCDEQ requires the governing board to approve a resolution of acceptance. This resolution of acceptance is shown in Exhibit A. In terms of the schedule on this, following board approval, staff will provide the NCDEQ with a copy of the resolution of acceptance. In terms of the financials, you're already aware of the $500,000 grant for this pilot project. The attachment includes a resolution of acceptance. You can see our strategic plan alignment in terms of our focus area. And my recommendation is the Saguasa Board of Directors approve the resolution of acceptance for the PFAS pilot evaluation and planning study. Thank you.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Kenneth McLam to approve. Do I hear?
Second.
We have a second, Vicki Daniels. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of accepting this grant signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carried. I didn't think we'd have any objection to it, accepting the $500,000 grant from the state. Thank you. And now on to item 15. The NCDEQ Asset Inventory Assessment AIA Grant Application and Resolution. Mr. Shroyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Saguasa has been very successful over the last several years, receiving AIA grants from NCDEQ. We want to continue that streak, if you will. So this is a grant application resolution request for a project. So let me just talk to you a little bit about the project in general. So recently, Saguasa staff and McGill Associates, one of our on-call engineering firms, discussed the probability of successfully obtaining an AIA grant for project CIP 101-01, which is a water treatment plant evaluation and master plan, as identified in our recently approved CIP. Based on a high probability of success in obtaining the AIA grant, Saguasa decided to apply for the NCDEQ fall funding round, which is coming up in October. Should the Board of Directors approve this funding application request, then Saguasa staff will work with McGill Associates to complete the application for submittal to NCDEQ. If awarded, the grant funds will be used to perform the project for water treatment plant evaluation and master plan, possibly as early as FY25 and 26 versus FY26 and 27. So let me speak to that for a moment. So the board is very aware from facility tours that they've had at the water plant regarding the age of the water plant, 80 years old, and the need for upgrades to clarifiers, to water tanks, water towers, those type of things, and infrastructure at the water plant. One of the things that is very important is to actually have a master plan on how we would develop that campus, because we need to keep the water plant in operation while we would be building new infrastructure on that site at the same time. So this allows us to identify where some of the new clear wells would go, possibly a new water tower would go, and other infrastructure on the property. As the board is also aware, we went through a major upgrade the last couple of years on the facility. So there's a lot of planning that's involved. We're going to be going through PFAS equipment upgrades to the facility. So it's time to start putting a master plan together for the future because upgrades will need to occur at the water plant during the next 10 to 20 years. So it's a good time to get started. Based on other projects on our CIP, the water treatment master plan was scheduled for FY 26-27. Having a CIP, it allows us to look at that schedule and to take advantage of what we're doing here today, which is saying, let's start applying for some grants before that year. And if we're successful, then we can determine whether we want to pull that project back a year or keep it where it is on the CIP. If we are successful in this project and are notified next March, we may consider actually bringing this project back to our next fiscal year instead of pushing it out 2 fiscal years. So it provides us with some flexibility here to see how to manage this project as well. I think as long as we get started on this master planning in the next 2 years, we'll be fine. But it may be advantageous to us financially to get a grant for this project to start moving forward. Of course, staff is recommending a grant supporting resolution be approved by the board. This is an asset inventory assessment grant funds for $150,000. Let me just pause there before we get into further financials. So we have been successful. Saguasa has been successful in obtaining grants fundings through AIA. In the last couple of years, we've done one for the water system and one for the sanitary sewer system. I think a total of $350,000 total. There are some qualifiers on these grants that say once you're awarded a grant, you cannot apply for another 3 years or be awarded a grant within that period. Well, what's different here is that the previous grants that we received for AIA were ARPA funded. This is not an ARPA funded. So we have an opportunity to work in a different funding range and apply. So potentially we could have 2 AIA grants at the same time, even for water, but they're from different funding sources. So we would qualify even though we're within that 3-year period. So I'm not sure how many other agencies are paying attention to that, but it may provide that niche for us to get in and get approval for a grant. So I just wanted to point that out to the board as well in terms of how we're and why we're moving forward with this project. In terms of our schedule, should the board approve this item, we will move forward with the application as quickly as possible. And the financials, let's see, we have $150,000 grant is what we're applying for. On this one, I think that there would be applied possibly a 20% match of funding by the agency. So our financial responsibility would be $30,000 towards the $150,000 grant on this project. I have an attachment for you, which is the resolution by the governing body of the applicant. You can see also our strategic plan alignment for Focus Area 1, safe, reliable, and sustainable water system. And my recommendation is the Saguasa Board approve the resolution in submission of an application to request $150,000 in asset inventory assessment grant fund from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes.
So in the financial paragraph that we just read, that there's a 20% match, which corresponds with a financial responsibility of $30,000. And it suggests the municipalities could help with that match. Is that the way I'm reading it? So $30,000 divided by 4 entities over a 3-year period?
No, it's not. I apologize. It's not written that way. It's simply just capturing information regarding the grant that we as a municipal water system would have to provide a 20% match of that grant funding. So there was no thought given to dividing this up amongst the communities that we serve at this point.
Well, it wouldn't hurt. I think that we should think about it. Everybody should, all the municipalities and the county, think about making a contribution to get that 20% match instead of taking it out of the Saguasa funds. Just thinking out loud. The other thing is we do have a period of 3 years to spend this money, right?
I believe that is true.
It's up in the background. I think it said maybe used over a period of 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions or comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second,
We have a motion by Robert Wace, second by Georgiana Kuczynski. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. And we're down to item number 16, which is water meters for new construction sole source purchase. And Mr. Schroyer, back to you again.
Well, thank you very much. So, yeah, we're going to bring Richard up on a couple items here too. So we'll be ready for that after this one. In terms of our background on this item, in 2020, Saguasa standardized its water meter technology on the Neptune brand. Neptune water meters have proven to be very reliable for Saguasa for many years. Furthermore, Saguasa continues to invest in Neptune to provide greater enhancements for our water meter reading and data processing. Annually, Saguasa's utilities department budgets for various activities associated with the water meters. These activities include repairing existing water meters, replacing water meters with new water meters that are beyond their useful life, 12 to 15 years, and installing new water meters in new developments such as residential, commercial, or industrial. Due to the new residential developments that are being constructed in the Saguasa service area this fiscal year, Saguasa needs to furnish some new water meters. As such, Saguasa's utility team has determined that we will need approximately 300 new water meters this fiscal year for the new residential developments. That value was used to calculate the amount of money that was put into our budget, our operating budget this year for this purchase. Based on the construction timelines of the new residential construction this fiscal year, as far as what we know, our utility team recommends the purchase of 200 Neptune brand water meters and the associated antennas at this time. And of course, we can make some additional purchases as needed as we further understand the pace of the new residential construction later this year. The Neptune water meter that Saguasa has specified for this project is the Neptune Mach 10 R9001. The unit cost for the water meter, including the associated antenna, is $315. So I just want to point out that these water meters are both AMR and AMI capable. And this new water meter is an ultrasonic type water meter. This versus the mechanical type that we've been using for many years in the industry. The mechanical type of water meter has moving parts in it. Basically, to register the amount of water, the new ultrasonic has an ultrasonic beam, if you will, inside no moving parts that measure the flow of the water. So they're highly accurate, more efficient, and longer lasting in terms of their life and their battery use. The reason I mentioned AMR and AMI capable, currently our AMR is automatic meter reading. So we perform our meter reading basically by driving down the street with an antenna and collecting that information from the meter. We don't go out and physically read the meter unless we don't get a report that meter provided us with data. The AMI technology has been around probably for about 20 years. It continues to develop, and the costs are getting lower and lower. AMI technology basically allows us to have meters that report up to the cloud every so often. Could be every 15 minutes, could be every hour, and provides reading data and trend analysis on that meter. The reason that's important, if you have a leak inside your home and you have continuous water going through your meter, at this point, we can't determine that until 30 days after. With these newer systems, should we invest in these systems, you would have the ability to have alerts sent out to a customer to say something's going on here, or your usage is higher than it was yesterday, or last month it's higher than it was, those type of things. And it provides a lot of great information. And for those that want to conserve water, they would have the ability to understand what their consumption looks like and alter their consumption if they wanted to. So we are a couple of years away from moving in that direction. I think if we didn't have lead and copper, I-85, and PFAS, we probably would have gotten there quicker. But it is definitely on the horizon, and we are preparing for that move as we move further. Now, as we get into some new developments here over the next couple of years, we may have the ability to start installing some AMI equipment out in these developments to start testing the AMI technology and do it slowly over time instead of taking a big jump and doing everything AMI. So we're thinking about that in the next couple of years as well. especially as we're getting poised for a lot of development here in the next 3 to 5 years, especially after the I-85 project is done. So I think we'll get there for sure. All right. So let's see, where did I leave off? The recommendation to purchase the required quantity of the standardized Neptune meter. The approved budget includes $90,000 for the purchase of the new water meters. The current proposed purchase is $63,000, and this is a sole source vendor, leaving us with a balance of $27,000. And my recommendation is the Board of Directors approve the purchase of Neptune brand water meters and associated components from Core in Maine. That's our provider in this area, our regional provider, our sole source, with a not to exceed amount of $63,000, excluding local and state taxes.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Are we able to get any of this stuff like state contract? I was reading while you were talking that Raleigh just also approved to go with the same meter in their area. And I'm sure they're getting the state contract price. Are we not able to do that?
I'll have to check into that. I'm not sure if there is a state contract by vendor price for that specific meter, but we'll check into it as well.
Any other questions?
So since there's a development that is under construction in Creedmoor right now, is it possible to try to get these meters in time for that new development, or is it going to be farther down the line?
We will use these type of meter for that development. Yes, we'll put an order in if the board approves this item this evening. Then we'll put our order in next week for these meters and start to do the installations for the new developments.
And I agree with Commissioner McLean. Let's see if there's a state contract price we can.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Kenneth McLean to approve.
Second.
We have a second by Vicky Daniels. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. Now, Mr. Balmer,
Richard!
it's your turn in the spotlight.
Let's stop before you down so you won't give me such a hard time tonight. Okay, we've got two last items before adjournment. So 17 is fiscal year 24-25 budget amendment number 4. Both of these budget amendments, by the way, you'll recognize as things you've already approved as far as the projects themselves. This budget amendment for fiscal year 24-25 appropriates designated capital improvement fund balance, costs related to the I-85 sanitary sewer improvement projects. As summarized below, that includes the CDM Smith contract for construction administration and construction observation that the board approved in the last month's meeting. It includes the mitigation fees for the wetlands and streams that the board approved at last month's meeting. And there's one item that the board hadn't previously seen, and that's an additional license fee for Norfolk Southern Railroad related to the I-85 project. You see that thus far this year, the board has approved 3 budget amendments for a total of $3,554,850. This budget amendment is increasing, transferring from fund balance $5,958,868, and that is being appropriated in the projects and studies. I will make one note that.
Can you set that mic in front of you?
Yeah. Okay. You've got the supporting document in your agenda packet. I will say that of that amount, the $5,696,000 related to the CDM contract will be grant funded. You don't have another financing source grant in this budget amendment yet, but once DEQ and USDA finish reviewing that scope, that part of the fund balance will go away and go back into fund balance and be grant funded. Because that number looks a little scary. So the executive director's recommendation is that the board of directors approve budget amendment number 4 is presented. Any questions on that budget amendment?
Any questions for Richard? Okay. If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion approved by Kenneth McLean, a second by Robert Way. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Fiscal year 24-25 budget amendment number 5.
Budget amendment number 5 for this year appropriates budget for $500,000 legislative grant that was presented tonight by the executive director. The award of the PFAS services to the CDM Smith and 2% closing administrative fee that was discussed previously. The closing fee will be paid from designated capital improvement fund balance, of course. Scott's already presented that in the legislative memo. And it also approves, this budget amendment includes all the capital improvement projects from the capital improvement plan that were previously approved for this year that were presented this evening. That includes the annual CCTV cleaning services, the McGill Associates Facility Needs Study, the Hazen and Sawyer 16-inch valve replacement, Hazen and Sawyer Clearwell Rehab Project, Hazen and Sawyer Water Quality Improvements at the water plant, Hazen and Sawyer Water Treatment Plant Filter Assessment. You see that including the budget amendment number 4 that you just approved, the total for this year fund balance is $9,513,718. Budget amendment number 5 is increasing revenues for other financing sources by $500,000. That's the grant that was discussed earlier. It's transferring from designated fund balance $672,408, for a total revenue increase of $1,172,408. It's being allocated in expenditures to the utility sewer line maintenance $170,000, projects and studies $1,002,000, $1,002,408. Total expenditures $1,172,408. Recommendation is the board of directors approve budget amendment 5. Of course, you've got a supporting schedule that outlines all of those various projects and fees. Any questions on budget amendment 5?
Does anyone have questions for Mr. Baldwin? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead, second. I'll second. I think Robert was saying something, or was it Candace?
Wasn't me.
It was Robert.
It was me. So moved.
Okay. We have a motion by Robert Way, a second by Vicki Daniels. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And we're down to our comments from our executive director.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. I greatly appreciate your attention this evening and discussion on all the items that were presented. I appreciate the approvals that you gave us this evening to keep moving forward with so many projects that are going on here in the organization. Our agenda was pretty packed at 101 pages tonight. It's down from 110 from the last meeting, so we're heading in the right direction. I would like to thank Seguasa team members, Finance Department, Richard and Ruben, for their work on this item, and also Crystal, thank you for your help developing the agenda and for being here this evening as the board secretary. I think I pushed out a copy of the projects report update for the month of August, so all of you have that in your inbox if you haven't read that yet. But when you get an opportunity to read that, if you have any questions, please let me know. There's a lot of good information in that report. Something that was in the report, but I just wanted to update the board on tonight as well, was over the last couple of months, we've been talking about a corrosion control study related to water heater anodes in this area. And if you'll recall, I had a task order created with Hazen and Sawyer to actually take a look at our water chemistry throughout our service area to see what we could find in terms of if and anything that's going on in our system. Just to update the board, that project is in progress. I had an update meeting within the last 2 weeks. Hazen and Sawyer wanted some additional information from our water plant. We've also communicated with the public in terms of their interest in this project. And I anticipate that we may have a report for the board on this and maybe a presentation in October. I don't have an exact date. We have an early board meeting coming up in October, so I'm not sure if I'll hit that date, but we might get a final report or at least a draft report coming to the board within the next 30 days. So we're just moving in a positive direction, that project there. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Comments from our attorney, Mr. Wren.
I don't have any.
Okay, all right. And comments from board members. Councilperson Judy Chi.
No, still learning and learning skills still. Good meeting. I appreciate everything everybody does and all the information I get. So I always feel well equipped to chime in as needed. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Vicky Daniels.
No comments tonight.
Okay. Commissioner Robert Way.
Just proud of the forward progress with our PFAS and PFOS situational awareness. I'd like to see us keep moving forward and pushing, get ahead of some of these larger systems. Let us be the first ones on the list.
All right. Commissioner Tim Karen.
No comments.
Commissioner Kenneth McLeod.
No comments. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Georgiana Kaczynski, our Vice Chair.
Thank you to everybody who made presentations tonight. And again, the PFAS, I'm glad that we are trying to get ahead of it, and which Scott has been doing since the very beginning, before we even got the designation from the federal government. I wanted to mention the Lake Road Pump Station. I'm looking forward to seeing that completed. We are behind schedule because of supply chain issues. And I would like our attorney to look into the contract that we have with these people and find out if we have any clause in there for penalties for not meeting contract deadlines. And if there's anything we can do, because the citizens of Creedmoor would like to have their water.
Thank you.
Station contract.
And as for me, again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. As you've witnessed during our meeting here, we have a lot of projects going on at one time. We're leaning on various engineering firms for different projects, and we're moving forward. We're moving forward faster than some, not as fast as others. We're moving forward as best we can without having to really put pressure on our ratepayers. We're trying our best to make everything we can work with grants and such to help us with all these projects. And with that, I'd just like to, the only other thing we have, do we have any further business to come before us?
Do we have any word on our assistant executive director?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we with that?
Actually, our assistant executive director will be starting October 1st. And he's here in the audience this evening. I was going to bring him up. His youth potentially go into closed session. So, because I think you have a closed session scheduled for you.
Yes,
Do we have one?
we do.
No, we had one.
We have a closed session for personnel issues.
Okay.
Yes. Would you like to bring him up for us so we can all?
Oh, sure. I'll just have him stand up right now.
Yeah. So everybody.
Chris Summerlin. It's still in the there he is, right here.
All right. Good. Now we know who to throw darts at. No, thank you, and we look forward to you coming aboard in October. Appreciate you coming here tonight. And now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn with a 5-minute break to. I'm sorry. Entertain the motion to go into closed session with a 5-minute break in between.
So moved.
We have a motion by Vicky Daniels.
Second.
We have a second in two places.
Take choice.
Yeah. And is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We'll be back in 5 minutes in closed session. Ayes have it. We're back in open session. Is there any further business to come before us tonight?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion for us to adjourn.
All right.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Mr. Way. We have a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second? We have a second. Thank you.
Just say get my name in there
Is
somewhere.
there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those Opposed, say stay.
Look at
Bye,
Kathy,
Sam.
look.
We'll see you next month.
Ken,